It's going to be our last night in Miami. So let's try to go to the beach. Let's try to go to the ocean. We'll see what's going on. It's a beautiful night. It's finally not raining. Beautiful day in South Florida. Bright sunshine. Low humidity. Today was an awesome day. Let's actually cross to the north. Check out the water. It's going to be probably about maybe 30 minutes to an hour stream tonight. I got to wake up early, go to the airport, but lots to talk about. Good day in the market. Lots of new record highs for individual stocks, ETFs, and the like. Talk about it in a minute. Hey, Doc7, what's up? Walter, Gary, Lena Sandoval, Lance, Ivan, what's going on? Alan, cheers. Always a pleasure. Patrice, Paulie, Tatted T. Good to see everyone. Let's cross here. I want to check out the water. Chris Mills, good to see you. Let's see if the internet will hold up as we walk over this bridge. I just want to check out the water tonight. We'll go to the ocean too. Look at that. Pretty cool, right? Chris Thompson, what's up? Mike G, good to see you, Mike. Welcome to Miami, our official last night in South Florida, but we'll be back. We'll be back on Friday. We'll get started here in just a moment. Thanks everyone for joining. Zach, what's going on? Always a pleasure. Nicholas says, what time is the flight tomorrow? It's the first flight out. I gotta get up early. Looks like we got some police activity here. Hope everything's all right. Jonathan says, love South Beach. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Once again, it's gonna be a shorter than normal broadcast, but good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back to Walks in Wall Street. We're going to be doing a quick stream, but we'll just jump right into things. Bitcoin performing really well. The financial sector is performing really well, and there was a slew of individual names hitting all-time record highs today. So very strong market. We'll talk about it. Oh, wow. Lewis says I'll be in Miami on Black Friday. Love that. My first time, where do you recommend me to have dinner with my wife? Well, it depends on where you're staying. So do you know specifically where in Miami are you staying? Are you going to be in South Beach? Are you going to be in North Beach, Mid Beach, Brickell, downtown Miami? Are you going to be closer towards Sunny Isles Beach? There's a really good Cuban restaurant called Sazon Cuban, which is in the 70s. I think it's 72nd Street and Collins Avenue. That's my go-to spot. I go there every time I'm in Miami. Ah, Lewis says you're staying in Brickell. Okay. Well, to be quite honest, I don't really spend too much time in Brickell, but I'm sure there's tons and tons of good restaurants there. But if you want to get out by the ocean, particularly North Beach, that's one of my go-to spots. But in Brickell, there is this good steakhouse. It's like this Argentinian steakhouse. I forget the name of it, but they have a spot there. They have a spot in Brickell, and they have a spot. Where else they got a spot? Sunny Isles Beach. Lance, what's going on? Professor Dario, welcome. Unij 23. Good to see everyone. Yeah, Reggie 44. NVIDIA performed well today too. I'm really encouraged by just the price action in the financial sector. I mean, if you look at the XLF into new all-time record highs, all of the major investment banks are performing really well, like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, all trading into new highs, but also a lot of the boutique investment banks. And I remember, I think it was about 4 months ago now, I wrote an article in the Behind the Street newsletter, which we're going to send out on Thursday, by the way, talking and highlighting those boutique investment banks like Jefferies, Houlihan Lokey, Evercore. And if you just go line item by line item, every single stock, both bulge bracket investment banks and the boutiques, almost every single one is at a new all-time record high. Performed really well. Evercore, Jefferies, all of them. So that is very encouraging. Our bull thesis on that was that, M&A activity was going to pick up across the board, leading to a massive earnings turnaround. So all good news. You also had companies like KKR, right, the big private equity companies. KKR, Apollo, Blackstone, all of those kind of companies are doing really well. So the market is kind of signaling a return to deal making on the street. Oh, by the way, the steakhouse I was just talking about, this is it. They have a place in Brickell. They have a place in Sunny Isles Beach, and they have a place in South Beach right here. This is from Argentina. This spot right here, good spot. Crossover by Collins Park. I'm so glad it's not raining today. We'll cross over by Collins Park, and then we'll cross over again. And then we'll head to the beach. Hey, the investigator, what's going on? Long time no see. Trust you're doing well. Thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully you had a successful Monday. Very positive day in the market. I had a meeting today in Fort Lauderdale with some investors, and we were kind of talking about really everything we talk about nightly on the broadcast, where the consensus, right, if you think about the consensus from Main Street, okay, which is massive fear, not only in the financial markets, but politically as well. The narrative that it's going to be another 2008 financial crisis. The economy is in ruins, right? I mean, how many times have you heard that talking point from one political party or the other? That right now the U.S. economy is in ruins. Everything sucks, but the market has told a completely different story, and the fundamentals have told a completely different story. That's kind of why we always hammer on a top-down, bottom-up, systematic approach to investing, right? Looking at the leading economic indicators to try to get a sense of where GDP is going to come in. And if you look at the major G7 nations, right, the United States, above and beyond, is the economic powerhouse, right? The previous quarter's GDP revised higher to 3% annually, so we're actually growing faster than expected. Services PMIs at the beginning of this month came in at the highest reading over the last 12 months. And earnings continue to come in solid. And the backbone of the market, right, is really the financials. If you have stress and strain in the financial sector, in the economy, right, if the big banks are not doing well, if they're in jeopardy of going under, you always see these kind of fear-monger posts that, Bank of America is going to go under, this bank is going to go under. But if you look at corporate earnings, particularly at the big bulge bracket banks, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, they are in a better position than they've ever been in, right? Blowout earnings. And by the way, their earnings are stellar right now, and we don't even have an IPO market that is really in gear yet. And I was talking about this at lunch today with these investor friends of mine. I was at the Aventura Mall. I forget where the name of the place. I wanted to give that recommendation on where to go eat. It was an Israeli restaurant. It was very, very good. Something with an M. I'm not sure if we have any Floridians in the chat who's familiar with the Aventura Mall, but it's right across from the Apple Store. It's Motec. You're right, Ben. Oh my gosh, you're 100% right. I'm surprised you guys know about that. Richard Toss is Motec. I love that place. I've never been before. This is my first time. They're like, hey, where do you want to go? Where do you want to eat? I'm like, I don't know. I'll come up. Because my house is 5 minutes from there, by the way. My house is 5 minutes from Motec. And they're like, there was two of the guys were Israeli. And they're like, I'm going to take you to Motec. I was like, all right. Never had it before. It was amazing. Anyway, sidetracked. But yeah, go check out Motec. It was a really good spot. It was cool. It's a cool spot. In any event, we were talking about how bank earnings are coming in strong, and by and large, the IPO market is still shut off. And if you think about the bread and butter of a bank, right, they make their money off of fee income, equity underwriting, obviously underwriting IPOs. And if you think about late cycle activity, this was the comparison I made at lunch today. I said, everyone needs to kind of think back to 2021, right? When you had the Fed easing massively, right? All of the COVID stimulus sloshing around. And every day you would turn on CNBC, Bloomberg, whatever financial news you want to talk about, they were pumping the next new SPAC. This is the next new IPO, this new SPAC, which one is the hottest play? And I believe it was Q4 2021, or maybe it was Q3, I don't know. That was Goldman Sachs' banner year that top-ticked their earnings. And it was because of all the newfound IPOs. If you go on like Perplexity AI or ChatGPT or just Google, and you type in historical number of IPOs in America, 2021 hit an all-time record high for new issues on the market. 2022, 2023, pretty much dead. So imagine, right, we're having the Fed start to ease a little bit. The bond market doesn't quite agree yet with the Fed, because after the Fed cut 50 basis points, yields actually went up. The 10-year U.S. Treasury right now is over 4%. But assuming rates do come down after the election, right, once everything kind of settles in its place, I think that could spur massive, I should say, catalyst for new IPOs. And that's kind of what the market is telling us. I mean, you could look at these charts yourself. Look at a chart of JP Morgan Chase today, ticker symbol JPM. Look at a chart of Goldman Sachs, ticker symbol GS. Look at a chart of Evercore, ticker symbol EVR. Look at a chart of Houlihan Lokey. I think it's HLK, their ticker. But all of these bulge bracket investment banks, boutique banks, are trading into new highs on an earnings recovery before we even have an IPO market that's really getting turned up here. Which leads me to believe that a lot of the doomers potentially could be on the wrong side of the market. So this is looking promising for early bull market activity. I know it sounds crazy because last year, 2023, the S&P 500 returned what, 23%? As of recording this video, I think the S&P 500 for the year to date is up what, 20? Something to that effect. So we could potentially have 2 back-to-back years of 20% plus gains in the S&P 500. Which, if you go back and study historical cyclical bull markets at their infancy, almost aligns exactly with the start of a new bull market. There's this, one of my buddies who runs the X account, Marlin Capital. He's a prop trader on Wall Street. Good follow, by the way. Go ahead and check out my X page or Twitter page. You can follow @WalksWallStreet and look at the last thing I retweeted. Look at the last post I retweeted. And it was a chart of historic early bull market activity in terms of returns on the S&P 500. Very, very, very interesting. In any event, this is going to be a shorter stream, so just really quick. This Thursday, we're going to be doing a real big deep dive into the markets. So if you scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, that'll take you to our Substack this Thursday. Right as the market closes, I'm going to be sending out our next investor letter. So you don't want to miss it because it's going to be a very, very thorough report. If you want to receive it, it's free. It's on our Substack behind the street. You can go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen and punch in your email. I think I'm going to make a left here on 17th Street, and I want to try to go to the ocean. We'll see if the internet holds up. Let me catch up on some of the comments here. I'll try to pull off to the side. Hey Jay, what's going on? Austin City Limits. Cheers. VG, welcome. Timothy says, Tom, I presume you saw that Google will use... I did not. Let me just take a screenshot of this. Thank you for posting that. I honestly didn't know. Savvy says, how do you normally travel between New York City and Miami? I usually travel via aircraft. I usually take some sort of aircraft. Maybe like a Boeing 737? Something like that? I don't know. Usually fly American Airlines. So I don't know. I mean, those are my overall kind of general thoughts in the market. Paulie says followed on X and IG. Are you most active on X? I am overly active on X. That's because I see the most value on the X platform. Lots of interesting and very smart people on there. Hey, Alan says, I was talking to a colleague today, and we were discussing the labor market, and he mentioned the labor market shifting to more technical over physical labor. I never thought about it, but he's right. Now, why do you think that is? Do you think it's because physical labor is easier to be automated? I don't know. But I also feel as if very mundane, like data entry tasks are very easy to automate away too, right? Now thinking about like the trades, like trades jobs, like if you're a plumber or something, I feel as if that's very, very difficult to automate away. You know, how can you have a robot handle all your plumbing issues? Maybe it's more difficult? I don't know. It's an interesting question. I mean, will we hit a point in time where we have a Tesla bot, like the Optimus Tesla bots? You know, you could buy one for, what is it, 30,000 Elon said the Tesla bot is going to be? And you could have it, like, fix your lights. I know, Alfonso, the camera is tilted. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't know. It's like a little cocked the other way. I noticed that too. Let's actually enter the beach right by the Ritz-Carlton. Hold on one second. Hey, Vivian Francesca, what's up? Everything in Miami, what's up? Ben says, Musk said in a Tucker Carlson interview a lot about AI. I think, Peter, if you're in the audience, I believe I just got an email from you with that interview. I just didn't have enough time to check it out. Maybe on my flight tomorrow, I'll sit down and check that interview out. Hey, Brad's Brain says, I like X. However, I get sucked into politics too often. X is the best platform, and there's a lot of really, really good investors on X. Lots of really, really good investors. Brad, we were just talking about, I mean, I'm sure you saw the action in the market today. I mean, look at all the bank stocks, right? JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, XLF, new all-time record highs, big breakout on the XLF. The boutique banks too, I mean, trading near all-time record highs. You know, that is very, very indicative of, very, very strong bull market behavior. Very, very, very strong bull market behavior. And I think I may have tagged you in that post. If anyone hasn't read the book Reminiscences of a Stock Operator yet, you really have to read that book. It's one of my favorite books, loosely based on the life of Jesse Livermore. And there's an interesting story. It's called The Old Turkey Story. I won't spoil it. I actually posted an excerpt from the book to my X account. I think it is very, very well worth your while to read that excerpt right now, because this is very indicative of early bull market behavior. And the Old Turkey Story from Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, you can draw some very, very interesting similarities and conclusions. And I don't really want to ruin the story, but I'll ruin it a little bit for everyone. It's, the biggest mistake people make at the very beginning of a bull market, right, is they'll buy a stock, it'll be actionable, the stock will go up 20%, and what do? They sell the stock. They're like, oh, I just made 20%. But many times what people will do is they'll buy a stock, the stock will go down 10%, they'll hold on to the stock, hoping that the stock will go back up, and then they'll say, I'll sell it when it gets back to break even. The stock goes to down 80%, and then they wind up selling it down 80%. So the moral of the story is, it's kind of like the opposite, right? When you have a stock, and we'll try to go onto the beach, I think it's going to be a little bit buffer zone here, but we'll try it anyway. I just really want to see the ocean before I go back to New York. When you have a stock and you buy it and it's working immediately, and it's up 30% over, let's say, 2 weeks, you kind of want to give that stock more time. You want to give it more energy, right? You want to feed your winners, and you want to immediately blow out your losers. So if you start a position and the stock goes down 5%, blow it out, take the loss, no big deal. But if you start a position in something, particularly during a strong bull market, and the stock is up 25%, 30%, you want to give that stock more opportunity to work, and you want to give it more gas. Whether it's you put on leverage, whether it's you just ladder into the position, whatever it is, you want to sit in that thing, because the market is confirming your bias, right? You had a bullish bias on company XYZ. Maybe they posted good earnings or something like that. Maybe they beat earnings expectations and raised forward guidance. You really, really want to give that gas. You don't want to suffocate that investment. And that's what that story in Reminiscences of a Stock Operator is really all about. Not sure if you guys could see too much, but we are now on the beach here in Miami Beach. Man, it's so peaceful here. It's unreal. Yeah, Brett says I hold stocks I love and I trade options on the same stock. Palantir being an example. I've rolled up profits from $14. Yeah, that's like a perfect example. Lee says, in my opinion, most people should not own individual stocks. Most people, for sure, but if you're like a portfolio manager and you do this for a living and you're trying to generate alpha in your portfolio, like that is like textbook portfolio management 101. But generally speaking, I agree. Man, I know that it's very, very dark on the stream, but Miami Beach is so nice. DC322 says, I wish I lived in Miami instead of New York City. Choose both. Get a place here. We'll try to get you guys some sounds of the waves and then we'll head out. I know it's too dark. Most of you can't see anything right now, but definitely not looking forward to going back to New York tomorrow because it's getting cold there. That's the one thing I will say about Miami. It's the quality of life is just really, really unbelievable here. I mean, I love New York City, you guys know that, but sometimes it feels like being in a meat grinder. Really, really does. Just the grind of the city, and man. So it's definitely a nice change of pace to be able to come down here from time to time. Jamie says you're not staying in town for the Taylor Swift madness. I think that's next weekend, right? Or this coming up weekend. I will be here for that. So I'm flying back to New York tomorrow. And then I'm turning right around, getting on another flight, coming back to Miami Friday. Staying the weekend. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, I have another meeting in Fort Lauderdale. And then it's back to New York. So, but yeah, I mean, guys, it's snowbird season soon, which means a lot of, what's it called? New Yorkers, Canadians are going to be coming down to South Florida. If you live in the Northeast or you live somewhere where it's cold, I challenge you to give it a try. Give Miami a try this winter, even if it's for a weekend, right? If it's for a weekend, maybe a week, just stay here. You know, get an Airbnb somewhere. It's a nice break, especially if you're in like a brutalized, freezing, windy. You just feel much, much better. Let's just wait for the bikes to go by. Hey, what's up, MBA Elias? Alan says, do you utilize lists on X or do you just rely on your main feed? So I really focus on my main feed. I really don't use lists. What I do use is bookmarks. I bookmark a lot of stuff, particularly if it's what's it called? Particularly if it's like a market correction and people are posting like outlandishly bearish stuff, like crazy bearish stuff. I'll like bookmark them, and that usually marks the bottom of the market almost that second. Hey, Marcelo Gill, this is Tom talking or taking advantage of this darkness. What's the opinion or choice, Bitcoin or gold as an investment? I choose both. And yeah, in short, I would say both. Now, does anyone remember right as gold was kind of breaking out from that cup with handle base right over that 2,000 mark? And I wrote that article. I said, it's go time for gold. You know, over 2,000, it's go time. And now it's 2,600. In the newsletter I'm going to send out on Thursday, there's going to be another section, but it's going to be titled, It's Go Time for Bitcoin. Over 67,000 on Bitcoin. Next stop is 100,000. Easy. And it's going to get there in a few days, probably. The cup with handle on Bitcoin right now resembles so much like what we just saw with gold, right? If you go on your Bloomberg Terminal, TradingView or whatnot, gold topped in 2011, right around $1,900 an ounce, right? 2011 up until 2020, it formed a 8-year plus cup. Then we handled for around 2 months, and then we broke out off to the races. $2,600 an ounce gold. It's on its way to 3,000. It'll hit that Jesse Livermore round number. I think you'll see the same thing, the same exact thing with Bitcoin. I would say, and again, this isn't investment advice. Do whatever you want. I don't care. We just kind of talk about the markets on this broadcast. I would be shocked shocked if we don't have a 6-figure Bitcoin by Q2 2025. I would honestly be shocked. That's my bias on that. Now, if you want to talk about the catalysts, like the fundamentals, well, the market is already telling you the fundamental catalysts. We're going into a massive election cycle when it's either going to be Trump is going to win or Kamala Harris is going to win. And being that the market is forward-looking by 6 months, the market is telling us, particularly gold, is that regardless of who wins, it's going to be more of the same. Deficits are going to balloon. The government's not going to stop spending. We're at $34 trillion in debt. We're probably going to hit 40 within the next, 4-year term. So that's going to be very, very bullish. Hard assets, precious metals, and Bitcoin. Additionally, there's a very, very high correlation with M2 money supply, so the supply of money, and the direction of equities, Bitcoin, and gold. You're starting to see another massive leg up. I think we just hit an all-time record high in money supply. But not only that, there's more. Wait, there's more. We are embarking on a brand new cycle, a brand new bull market in global liquidity. The entire world, and I'm talking about central banks, are now shifting at the same time from very, very tight monetary policy to a 180 very loose monetary policy. You now have the largest central bank in the world starting to ease, which is the Federal Reserve, and you have the second largest central bank in the world, which is the PBOC, the People's Bank of China. They are starting to ease. They're giving such incentives to backstop the economy in China. They're offering essentially risk-free loans to companies to go into the market and buy their own stock. I mean, the CCP doing that, unheard of. That's number one. They are discounting existing mortgages in China by a 0.5 percentage point on existing loans. Where do you think global liquidity is going to go? Which, okay, if we want to take it, if we want to dumb it down, it means the world is going to be flooded with new money. Flooded. So maybe, if you want to look at it this way, okay, maybe asset prices aren't going up. It's just global fiat currencies are going to continue to be devalued. So that's the trade. So if the purchasing power is guaranteed to be eroded, right, money supply goes up, well, do you want to be in cash or do you want to be in some sort of income generating asset or a hard asset with scarcity, finite supply? So those three things really hit on all cylinders, right? Gold's been around since the turn of time, store of value. Bitcoin, the only unconfiscatable scarce asset in the world that exists. BTC right there. And equities generally tend to perform pretty well during easing events and when liquidity ticks up globally. So we're going to do a really, really deep dive on this on Thursday. I'm going to send everybody an email. If you want to sign up for our free investing letter, you could just scan the QR code on the screen, punch in your email. It's called the Behind the Street newsletter. We're really going to do a deep dive into this. We may actually have a special guest, maybe like a guest appearance on this week's newsletter. This week's or the next week's. I'm setting that up. I think you guys are going to be, well, I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be fun. The next year is going to be very fun. We're going to have some guest writers, maybe even interviews with some very, very good investors on Wall Street. I think you guys are going to like it. Anyway, I know I'm rambling tonight, but we only got an hour, and then I got to kind of head home. Wait. Joseph Hardaway, God bless. Good to see you. Hey, Brad's Brain says you should always be proactive. Sometimes that means being cash. Right now is that time. I'm just so surprised that, I mean, maybe we get a little bit of a correction going into the election, but I'm surprised that we haven't really started to get it already. I mean, if you look at history, you usually have increased volatility around the election. And this election is the craziest it's ever been. But look, if we get a pullback in the S&P in and around the election, I will be buying that, I think. Well, not I think, I know. That's just my view. Now, I have a quick question as it relates to Bitcoin. And I don't know the exact number, so maybe somebody could Google it. Isn't the US government actively selling like a massive amount of their BTC stake, or did they just finish liquidating that? And if so, how much are they selling? My camera's kind of cocked one side or the other. I can't really fix it, I apologize. Timothy Gray says, however, if there is a war next year that could undermine the global liquidity theme, will nations continue to ease? If nations need to turn their attention to war efforts, that is a possibility. I don't know. I feel like the world's pretty much on fire right now. I mean, right? So, Timothy, look, can you just go a little bit further into your point about the war? Like, are you talking, like, what specifically do you mean? Are you talking about, like, full-blown world war? Because if we really want to go down a rabbit hole, I guess one could kind of assume that the world is on fire right now. I mean, look what's going on in the Middle East. It's horrible. I mean, we literally have, Zelensky and Putin sending everybody that's under the age of 30 and male into a massive meat grinder and essentially like slaughtering the youth of Russia and the youth of Ukraine, quite literally eradicating any male who's under the age of 30 in Ukraine or Russia is just getting eradicated on a useless battlefield in Eastern Europe for nothing at the expense of the military-industrial complex. We won't talk any more about that. We don't want to get banned. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more on the second channel we have coming up. But it feels like we have wars going on all over the place. I mean, I have a good buddy. I'll tell you this quick story, and then I think I got to go. Good friend of mine, one of my best friends through college. He's a TACP. I'm not sure if we have any military people in the audience. But he is like, I actually really don't know what he does. He doesn't really tell me much. But from what I've Googled, the TACP is like a special forces division of the Air Force. So I guess every branch of the military has their specific, special forces unit. I think the Air Force, he is a TACP, TACP. And he just deployed to Africa in a combat zone. he texted us in the group chat. He's like, guys, I'm going to Africa. He's like, my unit's getting deployed. He sent us some pictures from the big military plane that he's flying to Africa in. And it has all this military equipment, jet skis, like all this crazy stuff. So there's war zones going on all over the place, all over the world. You know, we're deploying special forces everywhere. My buddy, again, not to repeat myself, but just got deployed to Africa. I don't know exactly where, but and he'll probably will see some action. So praying for him. Oh, Zach says my buddy is about to be stationed in Japan next week. That's awesome. Japan's awesome. Japan's great. Yeah, this friend that I'm talking about was stationed in Korea for a long time at Osan Air Base in Korea, which is a really, really fun place. On my last visit, well, my first and only visit to Korea, I walked around the town near the airbase, and it's really, really fun. It was an awesome time. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know necessarily if more wars would be a negative for global liquidity. It just seems like there's too much war going on right now. I don't know. Tomahawks, what's your opinion on the ledger? I like ledger. Esmeralda, thanks for joining us. Cheers. Zozo Bob says those aren't American wars, though. They kind of are. I mean, who's funding it all, right? We essentially fund all of these wars all over the world. Hey, what's up, Jay Sully? John says the Air Force has their own blockchain for supply chain maintenance. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Nice. All right, let me get back to some comments here. Timothy Gray says if there is a conflict between the United States and China or Russia, then liquidity will have to be curtailed and international trade and commerce will be driven to a halt. That is a possibility. That is actually an interesting point. So that could potentially lead to more inflation, supply chain kinks and things like that. Brad's Brains is a great podcast I just listened to, was Masters in Business podcast. Let me take a screenshot of that. Thanks for the recommendation, Brad. Let's start to head north. I don't want to... We've already been streaming for almost an hour. I got to head back home. Got to get up early. Look, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple quarters through the election cycle. Hey, Adam Luke, good to see you. This is the Betsy Ross. Zach says he'll be doing intelligence and surveillance for the Navy over there. But like you were saying, I hope things don't escalate and they send him somewhere else. Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, we'll see. There are a lot of terrorist groups that are active in different countries in Africa. I think one of which being the Boko Haram. I think that is the most fierce terrorist organization on the continent, I think. You know, not for nothing, this is one of my favorite views in Miami. The Betsy Ross sign and the palm trees in the background. Man, I'm getting FOMO that I have to leave tomorrow. It's just very calming here. It's definitely a nice break from New York. Anyway, we'll start to head back up. I know Adonis' New York is cold and windy tonight. That's the thing that I'm not looking forward to. See, usually when I go back to New York, right, if it's in the summer, it's no big deal. But now it's slowly getting to the point where I kind of dread going back, just because I'm not a big fan of the winter. I love New York City. I have unlimited good things to say about New York. I'm just not a big winter guy. Can't stand it, but we got to suck it up. We got to go through with it. Kate says, are you a Mets fan? I wouldn't say I'm a Mets fan. I don't really know too much about baseball, to be honest. But if I had to root for a team, it's going to be the New York Yankees. Definitely going to be the Yankees, but again, I'm not that well read up on baseball. Reg 44 says I'm getting soft. I am. I admit that. I am. I think it's just because I've done my time grinding in New York City winters. You know, being up at 5 a.m., commuting on the LIRR, taking the 2 train to Wall Street, getting off when it's pitch black and it's a wind tunnel and it's miserable and depressing and cold. I did that for years. I'm sick of it. But, you know, it was good that I kind of did it, though, because I said, I'm not going to spend a dime of anything I make because I want to be in a position where I'll never have to do this again, ever. That's how much I hate the winter. So it was almost like a motivating factor for me. I was like, I can't do this into my 60s. There's no way I could take the train into the city and deal with that cold in my 50s and 60s. It just can't happen. I'm just not going to allow it. It's not an option. Many of you are like, you're soft. I agree. I am. I think many people have said I am a beta male. Maybe I am. Fuck it. I don't care. I hate the cold. So if you have a few dollars where you don't have to be cold, then you might as well deploy those dollars to not be cold. That's the way I think. Reggie44 says that's why your brother moved to Florida. Yeah, I mean, look, some people like it, some people don't. It is very humid here, but if you like the humidity, then I think you'll like it here. But if you don't like it humid, you're not going to enjoy Miami. This is the Royal Palm here. But look, we'll still be doing our live streams in New York City, in the cold, in the wind. We always do it. I'm just a diva, you guys know that. I'll complain about it, but I'll always do it. That's one thing about me, I've noticed. I'll always force myself to do it, like I always do the work. I'll just be a little bit of a diva and complain about it, but I'll always do it. I do the activity. If it's negative 10 degrees out and we need to do the stream, I'm out in it. We're talking about the markets. Don't care. Will I complain about it? Probably. Very high possibility, for sure. But I always do it. Damn, NBA Elias, Tom, if you spend a winter in California, you will not want to leave, even to Florida, less to New York City. I think I may agree with you, honestly. Many of you have been sending me raving reviews about San Diego, and I'm very, very curious about San Diego, California. Oh yeah, Brad, I can imagine. When you move to H-Town, you know, it's kind of nice not having to deal with the brutal cold. Wow, Kate says it was 83 degrees in Los Angeles. That's the type of weather I love. See, that's what keeps people in California, right? I also talked about this at lunch today. I said New York will never go anywhere, particularly New York City. Even though the politics are crazy, there's just too much opportunity there. The place is too amazing. It's always going to attract people. The state of California, right? You know, you could name a zillion things that are wrong with the state of California, but people will always go there because it's literally the most beautiful place to live on planet Earth, particularly Southern California. It's picture perfect weather every single day. The sun is out every day. It's just like the most ideal place and the most ideal climate to live. And that's why people love California, and I don't blame them. Like, I would pay a premium to live there. I just don't have any family or friends there. I'm an East Coast guy. But if I was born and raised in LA, I'd probably still be there, honestly. This is back to Lincoln Road. Joyful one says, I moved to California without knowing anyone. My aim in life is to be bi-coastal. Very cool. Blue Boy says, I love visiting LA, but will never live there ever again. Why is that, if you don't mind me asking? Is it because of the transportation? Like, public transportation is not good in LA, is that correct? That's the main drawdown of LA. If you live in LA, generally speaking, you probably need to have a car. It's not like New York City where you could just take the train. Yeah, NBA Elias is traffic. Right. Ian says Bay Area. We'll have to take a trip to San Diego. Or maybe I'll do a trip LA. I'd really like to visit. I just don't have any time. But the state of California is very, very high on my list of places to visit, for sure. Shoalers is, yeah, the crime. I feel as if that's every major city now. Peter says, Tom, what is the lowest high temperature that I could withstand? Two things. Number one, I don't know if I'm smart enough to be able to answer that question. What is the lowest high temperature that I could withstand? Am I reading that right? I mean, I'm from the Northeast. I could withstand negative, 10 degrees, but I'm going to be miserable. I'll say 25. Anything below that, it's like it's just ridiculous. But again, I withstand it. I mean, I live in New York, right? But I'm just not too much of a happy camper. Kate says, I will tolerate 60 degrees. You know what? Let me rephrase that. It's not the temperature that gets me. It's really not. It's not the temperature that gets me. It's the wind. I can't stand it. And if you've worked in Lower Manhattan, particularly on Wall Street or on Water Street, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The middle of January, the middle of February, it's like, there literally must be 25 mile an hour winds all the time. On Water Street, on Wall Street. So imagine 20 degrees and just cutting wind all the time. Over time, it drives you crazy. And it's the same exact thing at the Hudson Yards. You guys will see it, right? We're going to be doing these live streams in New York. It'll be the middle of February. We'll be walking to the Hudson Yards, and I won't even be able to breathe. That's how windy it's going to be. But if it's, let's say if it's 30 degrees out and it's snowing, that's actually kind of nice. 30 degrees, the snow is falling, but no wind. That's fine. Don't mind it at all. Hey RJ, what's up? Professor Dario says, yes, the Battery Park area is very windy. I would say the top 3 windiest places in New York during the winter is probably in and around Battery Park, Columbus Circle, and the Hudson Yards. Very, very windy over there. Reggie44 says, what is your opinion on SoFi? I haven't really done too much diligence in it to give an opinion on it, just to be honest. Ben Smith says, Tom, you need to dress in layers like up here in Ottawa during the winter. Oh yeah, you Canadians, I don't even know how you guys do it. Speaking of Canada, there's a lot of Canadians right here in Miami right now. I've been seeing a lot of Quebec license plates all over Miami. I mentioned this last night, but there's more Canadians sooner or earlier in the year now. Hey, NMB 45 says I visited San Diego May of 2017. Highly recommend the Pacific Beach. Well, I will take a screenshot of that. Oh, it's Thanksgiving, by the way, in Canada. Happy Thanksgiving. The problem with California is it's just expensive, right? But that goes back to basic supply and demand. You know, generally speaking, where it's beautiful, people want to live. You know, people want to live in a place where it's sunny, beautiful, all year round. Anyway, guys, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. I gotta head out, but I will see you guys tomorrow live from Midtown Manhattan. We'll be back in New York City. If you enjoyed the broadcast, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new, and if you want to sign up for our free investor letter that we are going to send out this Thursday, just scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, and I will send that to you via email on Thursday. Have a wonderful night. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8:45 live from Midtown Manhattan. So thanks so much. Austin City Limits, New England Crypto, Lance, William, MBA Elias, Peter, Reggie, Michael G, Carla, Alan, all of our moderators, Esmeralda, UniJ23, Lena Sandoval, Joseph Hardaway, Dano, Mike G, Gary Carpenter. We'll see you guys soon. Tatted T, DC322, Marin, Middle Age Grinds, RPT, Soho Joe. Take care, everybody. D, thank you.